At this point, we're going to take a look at some advertising, and we're going to talk about it in terms of the elements and principles of design and a little bit of some of the composition, particularly from the Works Every Time layout, so that we can see similarities and how there are variations on those kind of layouts. We'll be talking a little bit about grids if appropriate. So let's begin by analyzing this ad. First of all, the space that we're working in. It is a rectangle. We make good use of the space. Almost all of the space is used. We do have margins. Notice that nothing runs into the edges, which makes this a closed composition. There is nothing leading you off of the page. We have use of line. Look at the image in the center. It has to have some kind of linear definition around it, or we wouldn't be able to even tell that that is a smattering of liquid on the page. The line is loose. It varies in shape. It's not rigid. The shape itself is very organic. So remember, all of these terms work with each other. They're not one and you don't have to deal with just one. You can relate each one together with another one. So the size or the scale of this, the image in the center is taking up the majority of the space on here. So it's looking very large, and the text is subordinate to the image. We have color. We are using mostly blues and aquas. Why? Because look at the text. This is eye drops, lubricating eye drops. We are talking about hydration. We want to feel very liquidy and damp and wet. So give your dry eyes a boost of hydration. There is the image. We're keeping with blues because when we think of water, we think of blue. What about texture? Is this smooth? Is it rough? We again are looking at smooth type textures, watery texture. We have a simulation of water in here, ripples of water and splashes, and it's very fluid. What about value? Do we have a lot of value in here? We have dark blues and whites. So we have the full gamut in there. We have a high contrast because of the very dark blue involved in a boost of hydration. It's not dark, so super dark that it is black, very navy blue, but it is a deep, rich blue. So we do have good use of value. Our focal point is on the image of the box that the bottle would be in. Do we have contrast? Yes, we have contrast in the colors. We have blues and we have whites. We have yellows. We have dark blues, bright yellows. So we do have contrast. How is this balanced? Is this symmetrical or asymmetrical? It is not quite symmetrical. First of all, the image that's in the center is not this, it's not mirror image side to side. Yes, it is centered. Everything on this page works off of centered, but it is not completely symmetrical. It is an asymmetrical design. Even though we are centering on this axis, the relief is real and the Alcon logo are not mirror image. The placement is very close, but it is not completely symmetrical. We have symmetry, but it is asymmetrical. The text is 2 lines, but again, it is not centered. It is left align, right rag. This is again similar to the Works Every Time layout. We have a large graphic, we have a headline. We do not, however, have all of the items underneath in columns, we do end up with a column effect of having the tagline opposite the brand name, which is actually their logo. There is pattern, repeating elements in the splashes that are put around the big drop in the center. And so we do have some patterning in this repetition of little dots of splatters of water. Unity, there's no element in here that stands out as being completely different. We have a good sense of unity in this ad. Let's take a look at another one. This is for Salt-Free Dash, used to be called Mrs. Dash. We are going to, again, let's just revisit the fact that sometimes logos and names have to change. The original name of this was Mrs. Dash, MRS Dash. The Mrs. was dropped in favor of simply going with Dash. So looking at this, we have not that same kind of thing where we have one central image. We are heavier on the text on this one. So the headline, again, we have balance. It is again asymmetrical balance. One side is not the mirror image of the other. Although looking at the placement, our balance is wonderful. We have a dash a day balancing the two images of the product. We have the circle containing the nutritionist spokesperson on the one side. We have a circle of the logo on the other side. We mentioned in the advertising segments about having images of the product. So there is the full line, or a smattering of the full line of flavoring on the bottom right hand corner. We do have a similarity of having some kind of columns in here, because her images would be one column, the text in this area would be another column, the logo and the product would be the third column, so it's broken up into threes. We have contrast in the colors. Oh, let's start at the beginning. Space, again, it's a rectangular space. This particular space uses all of the space being used here. We do have the yellow bar that runs off the page. We have images running off the page, so this is an open layout because we have things that are not contained. They fall off the edge of the page. So the composition is then open. We have, I don't see really anything on here that would be considered particularly linear. We are using images, there are softer edges, there's no real sharp edges on here. We have not got outlines, so we're not dealing with a particularly linear product. Our use of shape and form, we have organic shapes. We also have a mix because we do have geometric shapes in the bottle. We have a geometric shape being the circle for the logo, the circle for the image to be set into. We have a bar in there, but the majority of this is going to be more of an organic feeling, particularly because of the text being handwritten type text. It's a script text rather than everything being very rigid. We have color being used, primarily yellow and red. Notice that one of the main images of the product is the yellow bottle. The logo is red on yellow, so we have a lot of repetition of red. We have a lot of repetition of yellow. They did not choose to repeat the aqua color in here. We do not choose to repeat the particularly colors off of the other bottles. Primarily it is the yellow one, which is located more central on the design. We do have the yellow repeated up in the top right hand corner. There are lemon slices laying up there right behind. Oh, what about the use of that red flag at the top? Repetition of the color of the logo. We have the repetition of the color of the logo for the bar that's featuring the information about the nutritionist. We also have green that's picked up in that nice little sprig of an herb. There is, I stand corrected, we have repeated some of the purple off of that first jar in the line at the bottom, because we have red onions, which are purple. We have garlic up in the top, which has purple on it. There's more onion rings right above the logo in this area, so we are picking up more of the colors, particularly of that purple. Let's moving on. Texture. This is again, we have simulated texture going on. We have little bits of the seasoning itself sprinkled on the page. We have the simulated texture from all of the pieces of vegetable and fruit that are cut and laying on the page. Value, we have a contrast of value. We do have white whites, the background is white. We have dark darks in the shadows, in some of the spices that are laying on here. This is overall a fairly bright composition. Our focal point or emphasis is on the dash a day. I think we're pulled to the image when we look at the dash a day, because there's more contrast in that against the white background. The red stands out quite well. This is definitely an asymmetrical balance. Do we have movement? Yes, we have movement, because we have the text on an angle. We have text then that is straight. The two bottles are not, or jars are not perfectly straight up and down. They are angled. We have movement in the little sprig down here. There is movement in the arrow that is drawing you and pointing you to the image. Moving through the page, you tend to look at these images. You can follow the arrow down and direct at the lady and read the text going across. You see the logo. This little sprig can help act to redirect you back up to the top, where you can stop and look again at this, follow you back down. If you so choose, your eye can move down to the bottom corner, and being an open composition, this will actually lead you back off the page, so you can turn the page and feel free to leave this after you have had your eye circle around it a bit. Unity in design. There is nothing in here that screams and tells you it does not belong there. We have repetition in the repeating shapes of the little jars, and in the repetition of the onion slices and the lovely little bits of spice that are scattered across the page.